A Steam sale will do that to a man.
Hello, welcome to episode 59 of Chet and John's reassuringly finite gaming playlist. My name's John Denton. With me as always, Chet Roivas.
What's going on?
So you know the deal, 2 top 10 lists, starting from 10 with being the game we played the least this week, 1 being the game we played the most. Enough fucking about is Chet with number 10.
Okay, right, my number 10 is a game called Master of the Seven Ts on the Xbox 360. This is a difficult one. I played it for a few minutes, and it's one of those games where you get that really nebulous feeling that it was made by really, really decent people. I was like, I like this game because the people who made it seem like really, really sound. It's something that's just been designed for very, very young children. You play as little pirate ships floating around in teacups, and there's biscuits that you have to avoid and stuff. It's got a really clean and crisp presentation. It's got really good music. The production values they're not high, but it's been very carefully made to appeal to children. It's got a really great theme tune that sounds like it comes from a kids' TV show or something. You've got cannons and port and starboard. The only really weird thing about it is that as you're these pirate ships floating around this cup of tea, the controls are weirdly realistic, so you can't do sharp turns, and it just descends. I don't know why you'd have realistic controls in a kids' game about pirate ships and cups of tea, but you end up just doing really, really long-winded donuts round and round each other, hitting the relevant cannon button and stuff. There's simultaneous 4-player multiplayer, which, again, it's the kind of thing you'd put in front of maybe a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old and they'd probably respond. It's very, very simple. It's nice, you know, but I don't know. It's nice.
Yeah, I like it when a game is born out of a pun and they actually like the pun so much that they're prepared to make an entire video game about it.
Around it, yeah. It's nice. It's worth the trial if you think that... I mean, I can't imagine anybody enjoying it who's older than, say, 10 at the most, but it's hard to fault it. Actually, I did fault it. It's not hard to fault. It's just I wouldn't play this if you were above a certain age because it's incredibly simplistic and crazy. Why would you have really realistic boat controls when you're floating around in tea cups? Anyway, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Done.
That's the way the cookie crumbles. My number 10 is First Person Tetris, a game I saw on Twitter today, but I realised I'd actually played before. So like a web browser game. You have an image of a NES with an old school TV screen, like an old CRT. And Tetris is playing on the screen, and when you move, instead of the brick moving, the whole image moves. So you move 90 degrees, and it's just a worse Tetris. The novelty wears off after about 10 seconds of the fact you're looking at a photo of an old NES, and then you realise you're just playing a really difficult and unpleasant version of Tetris, so I turned it off. That's about it. If you want to play it, go to First Person Tetris on Google, or I think it's firstpersontetris.com.
Haven't you talked about this on the podcast before?
Yeah, I forgot. I definitely played it before.
Yeah, because I think you mentioned it and I played it and I wasn't particularly taken with it then. All right, okay. No reason to go back.
No.
Okay, my number 9 is Double Dragon 2 Wander of the Dragons on the Xbox 360. I think it's on PC. It's definitely on PSN as well. I can't remember if I played the original Double Dragon 2. I'm sure I did, because I played all of those sorts of games in arcades back then. But it's kind of... Some people are saying it's the best Double Dragon ever that there has ever been released. But then I started hearing stuff on Twitter about how fucking appalling this port was. Have you heard any of that?
Yes, I heard it was bad, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I heard some really, really incredibly angry comments from people saying that they completely bastardised a classic. I can't vouch for whether the original was a classic, but this is hair-raisingly bad. It's unbelievably bad. You cannot believe that it got made in this day and age. First of all, it's quite difficult to fuck up something as simple as walking along and beating the shit out of people. I'm somebody who likes... One of the worst examples of the genre, I think, is Warriors Street Brawl.
Yeah.
The old XBLA game. I came to love that, even though it was fucking dreadful. That pisses on this to such an extent that this is really... It's quite unbelievable. I mean, just some of the examples are... The frame rate's terrible. The number of frames per animation is... it's 3 frames maximum, and one of the dynamics in it is that you can execute a perfect guard. So you can, press block at the right time and you'll do a perfect guard and you get points for that. But it's impossible to do because the animations are so quick that you can never preempt them. It's juddering and ugly as fucking sin. There's no finesse. There's also this thing where it doesn't matter where you're facing. Say, for example, you're in the middle of the screen, there's an enemy in front of you and you're facing left. If you press left and kick, sometimes it will just right and kick. Press up and kick. Sometimes it will just do absolutely not what you asked it to do. It kind of reminded me of like an old Spectrum knockoff of Street Fighter from like back in the day. It's so bad that I think I'd rather play that, to be honest, because it's shocking.
I don't understand how it could be so shit. Not that I don't think I've played Double Dragon 2, the old one. I don't think, like you. I'm not sure. Maybe I did. But I don't understand how they could fuck it up. Yeah,
me neither. But it is like something from a bygone era that's like attempting to be something. It left me speechless, and you should just have a look at the trial. You'll know after 2 minutes. You'll understand after 2 minutes about what a colossal car accident it is. If you found out that it was designed by people who'd never worked on a game before, you wouldn't doubt it. It's shockingly bad.
Shit. I'll avoid.
Do that.
My number 9 ain't much better. It's Injustice: Gods Among Us on iPhone.
Oh,
sneaky. It's free to play, and what I assumed it would just be like a cut down version of the main game, but it's actually like a weird, almost QTE based fighting game that basically just kind of tap the screen a bit and some moves happen. There's no depth or skill to it whatsoever, and the free to play stuff works by your characters. Like this quite common trait in free to play now. You can have characters for a bit and then they power down. You need to spend an in-game currency to get them to power them back up, which you can either wait for or earn very slowly in game, or obviously pay for. That type of structure generally bores me. I understand it's a model, but we're from the olden days, so that sort of shit's bollocks to me. And the game just ain't. It looks nice. It looks really nice. Very impressive for a phone game, but there's no gameplay there really. But it didn't cost me anything, and I got 10 minutes to play out of it, so I can't hate on it too much. But yeah, I wouldn't bother.
Yeah, no, I saw that in the App Store today, and I was going to download it and have a look, but I thought it just looked like it was. Is it good looking? It looked like it was too much of a pain in the arse to download over 3G.
I don't think you'd be able to download it over 3G. It's too big.
Oh, it's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, it is good looking. It is very good looking. If you've got like a brand new iPad, it would look gleaming on that, I'm sure. But doesn't matter because do you remember me talking about that game Karateka, the karate game that was the remake of the old school game from forever ago, which is basically like a Simon Says fighting game. Talked about it about I don't know months ago. Yeah. This plays like that basically, and that idea conceptually isn't awful, but I don't know, you just don't want to play it. We're from a fighting game background anyway, so I don't want to play something that stripped down personally.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Okay, my number 8 is Need for Speed Most Wanted. I won't talk about it. I love it. Me and my girlfriend were playing it on the weekend. It's just I wish it was gonna live forever, and there will be DLC released for it every month until the end of time. I just love it so much, and it already feels like it's dead, and it's a real fucking shame.
They're not doing any more racing games for the time being. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it beyond them to make something absolutely superb in another genre, but at the same time, part of me wants them to fuck up so they go and make another Burnout or something, because I really want.
I know what you mean.
But that's the annoying thing, is if they're going to stop making racing games, this is it until they decide to make another one, or somebody makes something on a par with it, and that's really depressing, because I'm just like, it already feels like the community is starting to sort of duck out a little bit. I mean, there is DLC for it, and I'm going to pick it up when it's cheaper, because I'm glad I waited for the first pack, because that was not worth what they were charging for it initially. But damn, I love it. That's I think it's just tremendous. Again,
yeah, I will be very interested to see what they do next. Whether they do another shooter. I mean, you don't really need another shooter these days, so.
No, you don't.
Yeah, maybe Airblade 2. Who knows? What
was Airblade?
Airblade was that game that they did before the first Burnout. It was like a hoverboard game.
Okay.
They did Trick Style, and then they did Airblade, and then then they did Burnout, and then the rest is Hist.
Okay, all right. That just says to me they should stick with cars.
Yeah, the Black was good though.
It was good. That's true.
but it's probably shit now if you played it now.
Yeah.
I would have thought.
Yeah.
Anyway, my number 8 is my free iOS game of the week is Draw Rider, which is hovering up the top of the charts on the free downloads. It's basically Trials done in stickman form, but on a bike instead of a motorbike, a push bike. It's all right. It's as stripped down as you'd expect. You're drawing on you're as racing on lines, but the game's the same. It's quite funny. If you really fuck up, you can like fall over and your little man's head will fall off and blood goes everywhere. That satisfies the psychopath within me, but it doesn't have the finesse of Trials in any way, shape or form. So while it still has that baseline of satisfaction, it's not really worth playing for too long. But then again, it's free, and it didn't seem to be bothering me with too much in-app stuff in the time that I played it. It just seemed to be happy to let me play and unlock stuff by just beating times in the tracks. So it's actually very, very similar style to N+. All the fonts are the same. The way it looks and moves is exactly the same. I'm pretty sure it's not made by the same people, but it's very stylistically very, very similar to N+, but you're on a little push bike. This is pretty cool for free.
All right, I like N+, but that sounds pish.
It's all right. It's all right.
All right. I'll take your words. Okay, my number 7 is another iOS game. It's called Shark Dash. It's another game that's on my phone. I can't quite remember why it's there, whether I paid. I'm sure I didn't pay for it, otherwise I'd have played it straight away. I assume it was either free at one point or it's free now. Shark Dash. It bears an uncanny resemblance to Angry Birds, which immediately makes me just think, for fuck's sake, come off it.
That made me feel just a little bit hungover. Hearing that.
It's your sharks. You're these very, very smiley, happy sharks in bathtubs, and you have to eat these little fish. Which it's Angry Birds, but there is a little bit more to it. It's not always set in one area. There's lots of they sort of go on. Some of the levels are quite lengthy, and there's all these pipes that you have to fly down. So you fire your shark into these pipes, and he flies over. There's a lot more physics to it. You're banging off stuff. Actually, there's not a lot more physics to it because it's physics-based Angry Birds anyway. But it kind of reminded me, because of the way you're flying around these. It reminded me like of an old board game, like something like Mousetrap, where you're watching all this stuff happen and making sure you do it all correctly. You can earn 3 gold stars to pass, or 2 or 1. It's stiflingly generic, but brilliantly presented. I mean, it almost everything about it is brilliant, but at the same time, it could not be any more inessential. It's just like, why would you play it? There's better versions of it. It's annoying because it's thoughtfully designed. There are some really clever puzzles later on. It's really good, but why the fuck would you want to play another Angry Birds ripoff? It's annoying. I wish they did something a little bit more with it, because a lot of work's gone into it, and you don't want to dismiss something that's as good. It is very fucking good, but it's like a lot of games that I play on the App Store. I'm just like, you don't need it, so why fucking bother?
Yeah, just hearing about that just makes me feel a bit fluey, just a bit. Eyelids get heavy, and
it's
kind of back starts to ache, and I don't even want to hear about it. I was doing a lot of those reviews a while back as well.
Yeah, it's a fucking shame though, because it's really bloody good, but don't bother.
Yeah, totally. So my number 7 is Stalker: Shadow of Chernobyl, a game I've always wanted to play ever since it came out. And I bought it in a Steam sale when I had my old PC, which didn't even have a graphics card because it cost like 2p or something. And so it was just sitting on my Steam account, and I've bought the new PC now, so I'll talk a bit more about that later. And so I thought, check it out, I'll download it, and fucking hell, it's not aged very well. In my mind, it looked really nice, and it was going to be really atmospheric, but in real life, even on the high settings, it just looked like a sort of high-res PS2 game, if that. You go out into the open world, and, you can tell the atmosphere's there, but it was just... I couldn't get my head past how basic it looked, and I thought, this is a long game, it's a very hard game, apparently. Am I really going to invest any time playing this, really? And I decided no. So yeah, kind of gutted I didn't get to play it at the time, because it definitely sounds like my cup of tea. But yeah, I can't look past how janky it is. For an open world shooter, you need it these days to at least look on par with like stuff from the last 3 years, and this is like on par with stuff from the last 8 years maybe.
Yeah.
So Yeah, it's just the first guy in a tunnel. It just looks like he just looks like a bunch of triangles, really. So I couldn't get past that, which is probably ignorant of me, but never mind.
I always wanted to play those as well. I was always curious about the fact that they never went to consoles. So yeah, is that the sequel or is that the first one?
I think that's the first one.
Okay. How much did it cost? Like 2p?
I mean, when I bought it, it must cost less than £1.
Yeah.
Because I think I bought it knowing that it wouldn't even work, so it can't have cost any money. But yeah, Steam sale will do that to a man.
True. Yeah. So I hear. Yeah, that's disappointing. I've always thought that's always been on a mental list that I've got to check that out at some point. Okay, my number 6 is a game called Final Ninja. Now I don't
reckon that's true. I don't reckon he's going to be the final ninja.
No, well, I don't know. I didn't get to the end of it, so I can't vouch for that. But the idea is that he's the greatest ninja of all time, and he's really old, and he goes and hides in a mountain or something. Then his old boss comes after him. I mean, it's fucking nonsense.
That sounds good.
I was out with a few mates, and one of them brought a work colleague along, and I was talking to him about Mark of the Ninja and just how amazing it was. And he said,
"Did he claim to be the final ninja?"
No, he didn't. But he said that there's no way it's better than Final Ninja, and I was just like, what the fuck's that? So he hooked me up with it's a browser game, it's Flash, so he sent me the URL and he was like, that's the best ninja game I've ever played. I mean, he's well fucking wrong. It's fine, it's good, it's alright. I mean, it's fine. It's what would I liken it to? It's a platformer. It's the way it looks is it kind of looks like Sonic. It's got that kind of day-glow industrial mechanic sort of the look when you're inside, not when you're outside on the grass and all that stuff.
Right.
And there's lots of routes. There's only one path, but there's lots of routes, so there's hidden collectibles and stuff. It's heavily physics-based again. It's like it's all about jumping and then firing a shuriken, getting the guy, and then jumping and swinging and then letting go of your rope and then swinging again. I mean, I didn't find it brilliant primarily because I don't play games on PC very much, so it was it's quite a difficult game. It gets difficult quite quickly, and you're just using the arrow keys and the mouse, and especially when you're bouncing from wall to wall, I found that really difficult. But then again, it's because I don't play on PC. It's fine. It's. I did think this is too good to be a Flash game. I think of all the places that I think it would fit best, I think it would clean up if they put it onto the 3DS eShop.
Right.
It just had that kind of feel that it's not a full price game, but a downloadable little handheld game. It's quite good. Yeah, it seemed from what I played it for a fair amount of time. I mean, it was very, very entertaining, and it did seem of a higher quality than almost all Flash games that I've ever played, really. It was generic. It did look like the sort of mechanical levels in Sonic, and it's just you're jumping, you're shooting. Yeah, that's about it. It's good. I mean, I can't believe that this guy thought it was the best ninja game ever, but then again, from what I understood, he doesn't really play console games, so what the fuck does he know anyway? But if
Market of Ninjas on PC, sort it out.
I don't. He played it in a browser. He works for American Express, so I mean, like, it's probably the most radical thing he's ever done in his life. No disrespect. I've got friends who work at Amex. I'm just taking the piss. Incidentally, if you want to try that, if you're bored one day, you can look at it. It's nitrome nitrome.games/Final Ninja. It's really quite good, but not if you've ever played a game on anything that's not a browser, I guess. It's pretty good, but yeah.
All right. I'm not going to play that because it doesn't sound as good as old Markage.
No, true that.
Right. Another Steam sale jobby for me, and a game I've talked about before, Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Another one that was on the Steam library. Thought, okay, got the new PC, downloaded it, was running super smooth in the higher settings, all good. And it still seems fucking terrifying. I need to sit down with this game and put it on the headphones and sit in the dark and play it properly because it's a real slow burn. Or basically, if you've not played it or not heard of it, it's set in like 18th century England. That's probably not even right, but you know me, I don't know anything about anything. I want to say like Lovecraftian type deal. I'm sure it's something like that. And it's a first-person game with no combat, as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm aware, you're just trying to find clues and generally not go mad. If you get out of the light, you start to go mad, and really cool, like hallucinogenic things start happening, like the screen will start distorting and things will change. And the whole time you're being chased by this unseen monster that I haven't seen yet, but I've seen him on a video, and that's one fucked up motherfucker. So I'm not looking forward to seeing him. And yeah, the atmosphere is bang on. Like horror games have kind of lost it on console recently. It's in this generation, really. You know, even stuff like the first Dead Space. It's definitely creepy and atmospheric, but wasn't quite as full on as something like the early Silent Hills in terms of all about atmosphere. Gameplay comes second.
Yeah.
But in this kind of semi-indie space, I guess they are indies, but the production values are pretty high. That kind of world. In that kind of genre, it lives on because of, you know, that is a fairly sizable niche. Then when you lower the budgets to a game of this size, which I imagine has probably cost a couple of million to make, as opposed to a Dead Space, which must have cost, you know, 50, 60 plus, you can seemingly make money because they're making a sequel to this game, which looks fucking terrifying too. So I do really want to sit down with it properly and spend, you know, a good couple of hours, 3 hours one evening, getting lost in it, because it's certainly unsettling, even from the first sort of 40 minutes that I've played so far.
Fair enough. That's another game that I really want to play. Do you think it wouldn't work on consoles then?
I think it would work on consoles, yeah. There's no reason it would need to be on a PC at all.
It's another one. Why haven't they ported it to consoles?
I'd imagine it's the money.
Yeah.
You know, the amount they'd have to pay Microsoft and Sony to get it on their systems, and you know, they've probably maxed out a large part of their audience on PC anyway, I think. It's also quite old. But there's, the sequel, the Machine of Pigs or something. That could be top shit.
Okay. All right, yeah, another game that I really want to play. I need to bite the fucking bullet and get a PC, really. Okay, all right. My number 5 is Injustice: Gods Among Us on the Xbox 360. Have you played this?
Yes, it's actually my number 1.
Okay, all right. Well, fuck it then. I'll leave it because I wanted to talk about this in detail, but I only got it literally about an hour and a half ago, so I've played it for less than an hour. But if it's your number 1, fuck it. I'll wait until then.
All right, cool. My number 5 is Mirror's Edge on PC. It was like £3 on Steam. I heard it looked great on PC, so downloaded it, and it does. It looks absolutely amazing. You whack it up to 1080p, all the settings up, runs smooth as anything, and it's just, the game looks absolutely astounding. Running it through a TV, way nicer than the console version, and the game still, you know, you just stick the Xbox pad in there, you're away. So really nice to play. It moves a little bit slower than I remembered, but still, the clean lines and the design of the visual design of that game is really quite something. And you know, when you can look out across that whole city from the rooftops, and it's just there's no jaggies or anything. It looks completely solid and chunky. Fantastic. One of the first really choice affirming moments of buying this PC, which has fucking done my head in. I'll talk about it in a minute. This stupid lump I've got sitting next to me, but that was one of the moments where I was like, okay, now I get it. This is great. I know the game's 4 or 5 years old now, but it feels and looks like it could have been released yesterday. And you know, whether there's a sequel or not, I think that's still going to go down as one of the games in this generation that's been one of the most influential and talked about kind of benchmark games. It's always mentioned all the time whenever anybody tries to do anything with movement in the first person, or specifically platforming, of course, or anything with a really just striking, clean art style. Mirror's Edge is always referred to. So it's definitely going to have that sort of legacy. It's a shame that they may or may not, but it seems like they're not going to get a chance to do a second one, because there are obvious faults in the game that could be swept up, namely the combat. We talked about this plenty, but that will be one of the games that's talked about for a long time, I think.
Yeah, no, and I do still think it's an exceptionally good game for 2/3, and then when it turns into a shooter that's really, really, it still blows my mind that DICE, whose speciality is really perfectly refined shooters, made a shooter as shit as Mirror's Edge. But then again, it had the air of something that was shoehorned into the final third anyway, so whether that was pressure from EA or whatever, it's a shame that because I've still got it sitting on my shelf, and I got to like 2/3 or probably, I think, right before the end I am, and I just got exasperated, but I'm going to try and have a crack anyway. But good. What number are we? Number 5, number 4. Okay, right. My number 4 is a game called SDGT on the Xbox 360. It's an indie game. I don't know what SDGT stands for, and I don't think the creators are keen on telling anyone. I think it's supposed to be like a bit of a secret. It's a new release on Xbox Live Indie Games. I don't think it's available anywhere else. It's really, really quite good. It's better than that, actually. It's something that I started a bit sceptical playing, and then the longer I played it, the more sort of engrossed I became. What is that old arcade game? One of the original arcade games. John Connor plays it in Terminator 2 when he's in the arcade, where you deploy explosions that destroy missiles. Is it Missile Command?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically a sort of a souped-up version of that, but your targeting reticule also picks up collectibles. So you're defending this space station, and you destroy rocks and enemy ships, and whenever they explode, they turn into minerals that you have to collect, and then you use them to upgrade your weapons, and you have sort of utilities which are like perks, and the whole time you're fulfilling contracts from people, and that in turn unlocks stuff. It's basically resource management, but also a shooter. It starts quite affably, and then it gets really, really bastard hard. So you often have to go back days and change how you spent your money, stuff that you invested. If you invest in different weapons, and you can't. There's stuff that happens that you can't apprehend. So one day you'll just get an influx of a specific type of enemy, and you don't have the right weapons to deal with it. So you have to go back a day and change everything. So there's only a handful of ways to do things. But I found the process of trying to work that out and sort of micromanage everything so that it's the way it had to be. I found that really engrossing. It's not the kind of game I ever thought I would like as much as I do, and it is really, really difficult. There's so much to it.
Yeah, that sounds really comprehensive. I thought it was just going to be something basic when you started talking about it.
No, it's. But this sounds like the kind of game I just think immediately, no, thank you. But it's presented in a very, very sort of very. It's very, very well presented. I think I've explained it. Basically, that's basically what it is. I mean, the utilities are like perks, and you can gather resources faster, or you can overcall your weapons, and you earn them along with earning the credits that you earn from completing these contracts. It sounds like something that should be really dry and really boring. I mean, the actual shooting stuff's fine. It's really, really fun. It's just the equivalent of Missile Command, but obviously it looks a lot better than that. I was completely wrapped up in it for about 3 or 4 hours, and I'm going to go back and try and finish it, although I think that's going to be quite a tough task. The only problem I found with it was that the pause menu at the moment, I don't know whether they're going to patch it, whether that involves them paying money, I don't know. But the pause menu's dead, so as soon as you press pause, you have all of these options and you can't select them, which means that at first I thought, after playing for all that time, I couldn't save it.
Oh, right.
And I was about ready to flip out, but it auto-saves anyway, so that's fine. But that's hopefully they're able to fix that. There's like a lot of Xbox Live Indie games. They've got commendations, which are an appropriation of achievements to sort of keep people playing. And there's a great soundtrack. I don't know who made the soundtrack. I didn't think it might be in the credits of the game, but I couldn't find it. Really, really good soundtrack. I mean, it sounds like they're working with primitive equipment. It's not like a really souped up sort of stereo sound. It's quite lo-fi, but man, it's fucking good. The music's really good. So yeah, I mean, it's worth checking out. It's one of the new releases, so it'll be at the front of the indie game space. SDGT. It's really surprisingly good.
That sounds good.
Worth a look.
That sounds cool.
Yeah,
SDGT. But you don't know what that means.
No, there's speculation online with all hilarious stuff, but no, I don't think they've revealed what it is, or maybe they won't. But have a look.
Yeah, that does sound alright.
Right.
Yeah, what? Talking of alright, my number 4 is Among the Sleep. Do you remember me talking about this a while ago?
Vaguely, yeah.
This is the Norwegian horror game where you play as a little boy, 2-year-old boy.
Oh, that's right.
First person. The cool trailer came out a while ago, and I did a preview of it for Eurogamer, and they're just about to start a Kickstarter. In fact, I think it starts today, the day we're recording, Thursday. It's not my business to say whether or not you should invest in Kickstarters, but they're starting one anyway. But they gave me the opportunity to play the first level on an alpha build, and it's really cool. Unfortunately, the save didn't work, so I've only got about halfway through the level. I was hoping I'd be able to save and continue it. But regardless, you play as a 2-year-old. It's all done from the first person, and you wake up in your crib, and you get out and then you start exploring the house. And like Amnesia, it's very, very atmosphere heavy, very creepy. It's a little bit more primitive in terms of how it looks at the moment, but this is still an alpha build. It feels like a game space rather than an actual house. But it still looks nice, and they've done great work already in how you move. You're sort of very wobbly on your feet, and you can hear your little footsteps and your little breathing and stuff. And a really nice touch is when you press the sprint button, instead of just running faster, he actually goes down into a crawl, because he's faster crawling than walking, which is good. However, having a son of that age, my son has got pace on his feet, so I reckon that they, even though that's cute, those kids in that age can fucking run. Irrespective, very, very cool so far. Like I said, by the time we got downstairs, plenty of stuff has been very creepy. Nothing's jumping out at you or trying to shock you or any of that bollocks. So Slender Man just jumping up to your screen going, "There!" It's properly just creepy and slow, and there's sort of some physics-based puzzles to try and work your way through. And it's the type of game that makes me happy that it can exist, you know. I've had a lot of trouble with this PC. I'll talk about it in a minute in the next two games, but this thing run smoothly straight off the bat and made me happy that I have a machine that I can just get something like this on at an alpha stage. You couldn't possibly do something like this on console, really. We do get early builds, but they have to be played on a specific console, and they have to go through this, and this. This is a situation where I've just dealt with the small development team in Norway. There's no PRs in the way. There's none of that bollocks, and just been given the opportunity to play it and talk about it, and that's really cool. And I think it could be a very special game indeed if they do manage to hit their goals on Kickstarter. But yeah, it's certainly the vision of some talented folks over in Norway.
So if this has only recently gone on Kickstarter, does that mean, did they have funding and it's been revoked or something?
No, I think they've had funding from the Norwegian government, and they need, if you watch their little video on Kickstarter, they need to get up to $200,000 to really finish the game and tighten it up. I think it's quite a common thing, and I think in the olden days they would have looked to a team like this would have looked to a publisher to be able to do that, but they would rather stay independent and looking for this opportunity, and good on. I think the game could be really good, so I do hope they hit their goals. So like I say, I'm a bit funny as someone who's been reviewing games for 8 years. I don't think that it's my place to go and tell someone that they should invest in a game that's not out yet, because I think that's like the anti-review almost. Even though what I've played is cool, it would be like playing the first level of anything and saying you should buy it. It's not my place to do that. If other people want to, that's up to them. But yeah, it's there anyway. All right.
Among the Sleep.
Among the Sleep's a very strange name, but it's a strange game, and you really do feel like you're walking around as a little kid, and the great stuff with scale. Obviously you're very short, so just the idea of just walking under the table and seeing how big a chair is, all that stuff's very cool, and yeah, it's a great idea. It's the type of idea that couldn't sustain a mass market approach. There's no way this could ever be a mass market game, but with a smaller budget, with targeting the right space, hopefully it can do well for them, if it turns out to be as good as it seems so far.
Yeah, okay, fair point. All right, cool. All right, my number 3 is Retro City Rampage.
Oh, you went back to it?
I did go back to it. I've been back to it several times. I still don't know what I think. Every time I've turned it off, I've just been like, go fuck yourself, life is too short, I'm not doing this. And every time I turn it on again, I'm like, oh, you know what, you know what it's like? It's like when you're introduced to a friend of a friend, and you just like, I don't like the guy, I've given him a bit of time, he's not my sort of person. And everyone's like, no, you just got to get to know him, you just got to get to, and I feel like that because I'm disliking it for all these reasons. Every time I go back, I'm like, I need to give this a bit more time. I've done a hell of a lot more of it. I still don't know what I think about it. What's this? I mean, you played this, of course, on the Vita, right? What's the affiliation with Destructoid all about?
I don't know. I think that this seems to be happening more and more in indie games. I think there's some games that got the Giant Bomb guys in. I think there's more than one game that has Destructoid people in. I think that Guacamelee has stuff with things like that as well. I don't think it's anything specific. I don't think it's anything financially based. I think he's just a fan.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, that's jumped out at me when writers from Destructoid came up as characters. That's weird. some of the missions are truly terrible. I mean, there's one that replicates the famous, every GTA game's got it, where you have to follow someone, but at the same time you have to stay far enough away so they don't. Yeah, and you have to keep picking coffee up. And I failed it 3 or 4 times, and then it just stopped, and it was like, well done, you did it. And I'm like, no, I didn't. It just told me that I'd found. It's fucked up. There's another one. Mission. Yeah, it was terrible. I mean, but then the way it just sort of shrugged and went, yeah, you've completed it. I was like, no, I haven't. I just lost the guy, and it said that I'd lost him, and then, rubbish. And then there's another one where you have to escape from prison, and there's all these guards facing. I was just like, that is so badly designed. You can't tell which guards are looking in what direction and where you're not supposed to walk. And I failed that 10 times on the trot, and that's the last time I turned it off, and I was just like, piss off. I'm not playing this game I probably will. But that was just the last straw. It's the kind of game that's so indulgent. I mean, it's an indie game, and it's the vision of one guy, and I like that. But it's like an unsigned band recording their own material, and then it's a 2-disc prog rock thing, and you're just like, if you had a really brutal producer just saying no fucking shit, I'm going to chop all this stuff, it's one of those scenarios where I think he could have benefited from a bit of guidance. But it's really the time that I've played it several times in the last week, but the time that I played it for the longest, I played it after having watched an old episode of The American Office. And I started thinking, this is why it appeals to me, because it's kind of like a game that Michael Scott would make. And some of the humour is like, it's not really. It's do you remember the Biff Man bit of the game?
Yes, yeah.
Where for no reason, for a period of about 5-10 minutes, you take on the alter ego of a hero called Biff Man. Yeah. And then you get captured and you're hung upside down over crocodiles, and it does that thing it spoofs that tradition that is from like the 1940s TV serials like The Lone Ranger. Will the Lone Ranger make the jump? Will Tonto die? Find out next week. Which is really weird because that hasn't happened in any of our lifetimes, and it's like he must be spoofing a spoof that someone did who even they probably weren't fucking alive when that used to be on TV. But yeah, it says the text comes up as he's hanging over these crocodiles. What will happen? Tune in next time. Same Biff time. Same Biff ... channel ? Exclamation mark, as if to say, what the fucking crazy shit that's coming out of my mouth. We're mad round here, boy. And it's that kind of slightly affable, but kind of ever so slightly cringeworthy. Yeah. Like it's hard to describe. But anyway, funny enough, the bit that follows that is the best part of the game. It's a tiny little micro game where you have to swing left to right. You hit a switch and a goon drops out of a dispenser. You catch them, and then you basically keep feeding them to the crocodiles so that they're so full they can't eat you. And I was like, this has got the focus that none of the rest of the game has. And I was like, that was actually a really nice part of the game. And there's bits in it where I swear the game kept hiding which the story missions were, and I'd look for the icon for the story mission because I just want to complete it. I don't want to do the side missions, and I couldn't see it, and it was like they were hiding it from me because they wanted me to do all of the shit that's on the side. Oh God, I don't know what I think about it. I'm going to play it some more, and it's bits of it are too hard. There's difficulty spikes that just make you want to fucking kill yourself. I don't know. I really don't know.
Have you seen the episode of The American Office where Michael screens his film? It's quite late on, I think. No,
in that case, no. I've only started watching it recently, so I'm like series 4 or something.
Threat Level Midnight. It's fucking world class.
Sounds
world class. Yeah, sweet. Michael Scott's my boy. Number 3, this is where the PC problem started to happen. Bioshock Infinite on PC. The thing that I was worried about with PC gaming was, instead of playing video games, spending time in menus, fucking about, trying to get things to work, trying to get settings right. And that has been my experience with this game, and even more so the game I'll talk about afterwards. If you just look at it at 1080p with all the settings up, it looks unbelievable. I mean, it makes the console version look positively last generation. It looks ridiculous. The art just comes to life in a way. I mean, I think it looks great on 360, but it's just it doesn't look real, and obviously it's not real as a game, but it looks like you're moving through some sort of bizarre painting world. It's fucking amazing, but every now and again it will just stutter a little bit. Now, if this was on a console and it did that, you'd just be, it just stutters a bit sometimes, and you just keep playing it because there's nothing you can do. But on PC, you're like, well, I might be able to fix that. I might if I turn the shadows down slightly, or if I go into the back menu behind the game. And I've driven myself fucking nuts, absolutely fucking nuts, trying to get this working. And then I go online and realise it's actually a really widespread problem with this game on PC. That there is this like micro stuttering with the frame rate drops ever so slightly. The game is still completely playable, even on the higher settings on my PC. It looks amazing, plays lovely on the pad, plays lovely on mouse and keyboard. It's obviously an astounding game, as we talked about many times. But instead of playing it, I've just been trying to fix it the whole time. And then eventually, I just went, fuck it, I'll just deal with the stuttering. And then I've just been enjoying the game again. But my first week of PC ownership is not gone very well because of that, and what I'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, it's I just don't understand how that's fun, because my first hour with Bioshock Infinite on 360, even though it didn't look anywhere near as nice, right, was this amazing, engrossing, involving hour. My first hour of Bioshock Infinite on PC was play for 2 seconds, pause, change graphics. Does that look better? Play it for a bit. No, I'm not sure. It looked better before. And that every game I play, I'm sure I'm going to be doing that for the first hour.
Yeah.
So that kills the first. It makes me want a crappy tutorial just so I can get all that stuff out of the way during the tutorial, and when the game starts properly, it'll be flowing nicely. I think that I happen to have picked 2 very troublesome games, and the other one's Far Cry. I'll talk about it in a minute, which is even worse. But hopefully it won't be an ongoing problem. I just think I've been an unlucky couple of games. But yeah, source it out, because when it works, and my PC can definitely handle it, because you'll play for 5 minutes, smooth as anything, 60 frames per second, 1080p gleam, looks unbelievable. But then, fuck off! Don't just work. Yeah, it's trouble.
That's completely summarises why I don't like the idea of PC gaming. I don't want that much control. I want someone to put something on a plate and say, "Eat this." I don't want to say, "Oh, maybe if I'd piss around with that." What a nightmare! That just would I'd fall out of love with any game that forced me to do that, or where I felt compelled to do that. Shit, fuck that.
Maybe I'll get my head around it and it won't be such a problem.
Maybe.
But it was nice putting on Among the Sleep, and it just worked straight away. Super smooth, high settings, no fucking about. Didn't need to go into single menu. Beautiful. But this. But then again, you go online and it's like this huge widespread problems. IGN have done articles on how to fix it. Like, it ain't, it is a special case, as is Far Cry, which is even worse, as I'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, just bad luck, I think, on the 2 that I happen to have played first.
Crap. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. My number 2 is Mark of the Ninja. I spoke about it before. Spoke about it last week, and I think the week before. I can't remember. I still stand by everything I said. It's up there with the best games that have ever been launched on the Xbox Live Arcade. I know it's on Steam. I don't think it's on PSN. I don't know whether there's.
No, I don't think it is.
No, it's a shame, because everybody should play it. It's taken my breath away frequently. It does almost everything that it does. Other games have done it, but I don't think they've done it this well. And I don't think just as a coherent package, it can't be faulted. It's a puzzle game and an action game, and they work in perfect harmony. I just love the fact that you can experiment, and there's so many things you can unlock, and there's so many different tacks you can take. And I love the idea of being able to just the idea you can freeze something and just execute a few moves, and then I did some fucking amazing things when there's a room full of goons and you press the best thing to do in Mark of the Ninja is make a mistake and then have to get yourself out of it. Jumping down into a room full of people, freezing time, zapping the lights out, taking one of them out, nipping under the floorboards, jumping up, throwing like one of those noisemakers, and then putting a spike mine behind it, so one of them goes out, he freaks out. It's so expertly done. And it's not overlong. It's the perfect amount of time. It doesn't fucking tread water at all. I'm absolutely aghast at how good it is, and if it had a different title, something about the title, Mark of the Ninja, does not. Yeah. I don't respond to it. As soon as I heard it the first time, I was like, I'll take it. Even though it got great reviews, I wasn't really interested. But man, I just love the way that you have to be careful the whole time. And I don't just mean preempting everything that's going to happen. I mean, when you execute a QTE from someone who's unaware, you have to be ready to. It's only one of 2 things: left and X, right and X. It's only ever one of those 2 things, but you have to be ready for it in the way that most times you're surprised by a QTE and you go, ugh. And you can fumble it, whereas you can't. You can't fumble it here if you want to, especially if you're trying to do everything perfectly and complete everything with with all the goals met. The only thing wrong with it is I came across a terrible blemish, and it happened to me twice, and I was just like, I can't believe that's just happened. If you get discovered and you're still moving through the level, and say you go into a different room, on 2 occasions I got discovered, and it was a part of the mission where you couldn't be discovered, and I moved into another room. It will auto-save as you move into the room, so you just keep going to restart the checkpoint, and it immediately goes to say, yeah, you can't go restart checkpoint. It will bounce to after you've been discovered. That happened to me twice, and the only way to fix it is to go back to the beginning of the level. And some of the levels are quite long, so
yeah, that's bad.
It is pretty fucking bad. Despite it, I absolutely fucking love it. It's a superb game, and although it's not 600 Microsoft points anymore, it's worth every fucking one of those 1,200 if you're intrigued, or at least try the demo. It's up there with the best of the Xbox Live Arcade. It's great. It's the first download-only game where I've really thought I could possibly. I don't think I'd be massively pissed off if that came out of 40 quid, just because of how it's. Everything about it's well done. I love it. Fucking love it.
Yeah, I need to go back to it. I've still got plenty more to do on it as well.
Yeah, it's damn good. Damn good.
Awesome. Good old Mark. All right. Like I said, my number 2 is Far Cry 3 on PC. I decided that I'd buy it because I love Far Cry 3 and I wanted to play the best version. Oh, it's just, I've probably put in 8 hours of fucking fiddling. I'm still nowhere in the game. It has huge, widespread problems. The PC version is problematic. You go online and it's just reams and reams of forum posts on everything about how fucked up the PC version is. Basically, like Bioshock, it will work perfectly, 60 frames a second, 1080p, looks amazing, and then it'll stutter massively. And I would rather it didn't look as good and ran smoothly. So in order to get it to do that, you have to start messing with all these things. I haven't got a clue what they mean. MAAA or something, SSAO, or post-ambient occlusion, all this sort of stuff. So I basically had to take a university course in learning what all this shit means, just so I can fiddle with it to try and get the game working. And I finally got it smooth on 720p on my TV, moved it to a different TV on 1080p, and it didn't work smoothly again. So changed all the settings to get that to work smoothly, moved it back into the other room to put it on my other TV, and it wasn't smooth again. So, yeah, when it has worked, obviously the game is brilliant because it's Far Cry 3 and it does look outstanding. And the really stupid thing is, even at its worst on PC, even at its sketchiest, it's still way, way less sketchy than the console version is at all times. It's way smoother than at all times. But because you have the option, like you said, because you know that there's an opportunity to maybe fix this, you drive yourself fucking loopy, especially when you don't know what any of it means. So the definition of insanity, Vass, is the fucking PC version of Far Cry 3. But I think, come back to me next week and I probably won't have, but I think that I've got it sorted now. So it looks and runs smooth and I can just enjoy it for what it is. I mean, the difference is marked. I got snaffled by a Komodo dragon, and I remember on the 360 version you'd look down and it would just be kind of a brown-green thing that would be there, but you look down on this one and it's this super high-res skin. You can see all the scales on the skin. It looks like a fucking Komodo dragon, a real one. The quality of the vegetation is amazing. The fucking everything pops. It does look outstanding, and it makes me excited for. It just shows how fucking old those consoles actually are, because this is what games should be looking like now. This is what this game does actually look like, and it's just scaled down for PC for 360 and PS3. But just work, man. I just want it to work. But then again, like I said, this has been the most problematic game on PC in the last 12 months. So, hopefully the next game I'll play, I've got a code for Tomb Raider which came in my thing. I'm just going to download that, check it. Apparently, according to the internet, that just runs smooth and you don't even have to think about it. So, I need my faith restored.
Give me the console version. I'll take the console version every day. That just sounds like my nightmare, and I'm glad I'm not having to live it. Oh, isn't that a fucking minefield if you're reviewing games as well, though? Because if you're having sort of technical issues, then I bet you could have just slid the X slider to Y and B slider. You didn't do. If the onus is on you to make the game what it's supposed to be, that just sounds like a fucking nightmare. Yeah,
well, it gives you an optimal setting, right? And if we put on that optimal setting, the game runs pretty smooth. And it still looks way nicer than the console version, runs smoother than the console version, 1080p, whatever. But once you've seen it on Ultra, and you've had that running a bit on your screen on Ultra settings, you can't then turn that down. I can't anyway. Once you've seen what you can have, you can't go back to like quite good. So there, I think seasoned PC gamers who've done it, always PC gamed, can probably compromise a bit more. They're like, all right, my rig can't run this and this thing, so we'll just turn it all down and here's the game. But because I'm new, and I'm like, I've just bought this fucking thing. And it's like, no, I need that. I've just bought this thing. I want the fucking daddy. I want the best. And they're like, we'll turn these things. No, I'm not turning that shit down. I'm just going to do everything else to make it work. And even if it doesn't work, I'm just going to pretend it works. So it basically just driven myself fucking mad. I've been stressing out about it even when I've not been playing on it, which is not really much fun.
Yeah. It sounds like a nightmarish can of worms to me. I'd rather piss up a rope, so enjoy that. I'll stick with the fucking ancient consoles until the new ones come out, boy.
Yeah, I think, yeah, you would be driven even more mad by it than me, I think.
Yeah, I know, I bet. Okay, my number one is Battlefield 3 on the Xbox 360. Old school. Oh, speaking of which, why the fuck don't you get the PC version of Battlefield? That's meant to be sickeningly good in comparison.
Because it's still full price.
You get what you pay for, boy.
I know, but who am I going to play it with?
Good point. Good point.
I'm not playing that fucking campaign.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. Yeah, Battlefield 3, I won't talk about it. The Metro crash that I talked about last week that's always happened in Battlefield, I think the reason we are talking about it more is because it's happening almost every time we play Metro. One of us will crash, the hard freeze, we have to reset the console, and then whoever was left in the game, one by one, they'll fall like dominoes. So we're just trying to avoid playing Metro at the moment, which is a real shame because we like that map. We played a bit of Armoured Kill on Rush, which we haven't done for months. It's still an absolutely horrendous fuck show, and we never want to do it again. Armoured Kill on Rush, don't do it. We thought they'd try and fix it by balancing the gunship a little bit, but they've done it a little bit so it doesn't spawn as frequently, it's easier to destroy, all that shit, but those maps on Rush are just narrow boxes of death. They're just really open. They're so hard to defend against. It's just an exercise in horrendous frustration. So that's never again were we going to do that after we played it a bit on the weekend. It was just like the most maddening thing in history. Another thing that's really one of the server the map rosters that DICE have always had themselves is most popular.
Right.
Most pops, as we call it. So on the top, whenever you look at what people are playing and what the busiest servers are, most pops is always at the top. I mean, those rosters haven't changed. So it's Caspian Border on Conquest, Metro and Grand Bazaar on Rush, Team Deathmatch on Cargine and stuff like that. It's the most it's the most pops. But that roster hasn't changed since day one, and there are so many most popular servers. It's like I'd quite like them to one day put least pops out there to see what the least popular servers are. I mean, it would be terrible, and we'd all probably rage quit because it'd be all fucking Rush on Armoured Kill. But it's a shame that they don't do more because there are so many of those servers. A lot of the time you look, those servers, the mixed servers aren't being played. These ones, most pops. I like those maps, I like those game types, but they've pinned at the top of the tree for all of these months, and there's nothing to counteract it. There's no, we need least pops, or most medium pops, or like the most forgotten pops. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, just a different roster of maps. But yeah, Batters is all right.
You like Batters?
Yeah, it's all right.
Watch Chet's Week in Batters on YouTube. Don't miss it. It's the business.
Genuine.
So yeah, my number one is Injustice, Gods Among Us.
Oh yeah.
Gods Amongst Us? Gods Among Us. Among Us.
Yeah.
Among. So I played a fair bit. I'm doing the review for it for Games TM. The game's actually out this weekend. They're really late with review builds for some reason. But I mean, I was a big fan of Mortal Kombat 9, as were you, and this just seems to kind of take that baton and run with it. Really, I've really enjoyed what I've played so far. They've, if you don't know what it is, it's DC characters fighting each other. There's no Mortal Kombat characters, but it's made by the Mortal Kombat people. Like Mortal Kombat, there's a extensive story mode which is fucking pure ham, and I'm enjoying it a lot. There's like the challenge tower, which is in Mortal Kombat. It's called like Star Challenge or something in this. All the stuff that was in Mortal Kombat's in here, but the online is much smoother straight off the bat as well. But I guess the fighting system is similar to Mortal Kombat in the way the combos work and things like that, but there's some fundamental differences. One being that it's not a button to block. it's now back to block, which if you play a lot of fighting games is actually it's one of those things that sounds like nothing if you don't play fighting games, but it's actually a really big difference to how almost everything works. In the basic combat, you've got light attack, medium attack, and heavy attack. That's it. It's really simple and easy to play, but there's loads of interesting and kind of crazy stuff in the game as well, isn't there? Like you can interact with the backgrounds quite a lot, so there's stuff that you can grab and smash into the other person. You can kind of kick them through the wall at the edge of some of the levels, and you'll fly through, and they'll smash to a different part of the level. That looks great. And then you can build up your meter and hit a special. It's not like Street Fighter where you have to do a complicated thing. You just tug both shoulder buttons. You have to time it right, and otherwise it can be blocked. But all of those like crazy things will fucking happen. Like Aquaman brings in all this water, and then this giant shark just appears and eats them. They're genuinely pretty funny, all of them that I've seen. And it just flows nicely and it plays nicely. There's a few other clever systems in there with this thing called like a wager or clash or something like that. Yeah. Basically, if you're dying, you can like use clash to counter a move, and then you'll go into this thing called a wager where you bet a certain chunk of your meter against the other person's, and whoever bet the most will win. So you'll either regain a bunch of health or lose some, depending. No, I think it's just to regain some health if you're losing. But obviously you could bet all your meter on doing it, but then you're going to win. You're going to get some health back, but you've got no meter. So it's all balancing, that sort of stuff. Real stuff for people who know their fighting games and know that they're sort of familiar with concepts of meters and can start wrapping their heads around different ways that they could be incorporated into a new fighting system. None of it's complicated, but it is for people who've played these games. And I just think it's really good. It's not as good as Super Street Fighter 4, but I'm really enjoying what I'm playing so far. And that story is just cracking, man. It's fucking daft. It is so daft.
But the story in the most recent Mortal Kombat was pretty fucking stupid as well. But that's great as well.
It's just the same amount of cheese. It's actually weirdly similar to Bioshock Infinite. It's all about it's about infinite universes and moving into an alternate universe where one thing changed and now Superman's gone evil and he's like basically this dictatorial leader of the world, and all the heroes, and now there's evil versions. It's just a really complicated way of making mirror matches make sense, basically. Yeah. But yeah, you play like 3 or 4 fights as one character, and you'll move through lots of different characters. It's done in cutscenes, and then it'll move to the side like in Mortal Kombat, and you start fighting. It's just really cool. It's a really cool way of playing a single player fighting game. No other games apart from MK have ever done it, and it's way better than your standard single player, which nobody ever bothers playing.
Yeah.
And yeah, the game's really cool. It kind of came out of nowhere a little bit. I knew it was there and existed, but because of the DC versus MK game wasn't very good in my mind, for some reason I just assumed this wasn't going to be very good either. But it is actually really good.
Yeah. No, I mean, I played it for the best part of an hour, but so I won't speak too much about it. But yeah, it reminded me, for one thing, that I forgot. You sometimes forget how good that last Mortal Kombat game was. And this is based on it to the extent where sometimes, I mean, Wonder Woman, besides looking a bit too masculine, she has the same kind of she moves and she has the same kind of stance as Cabal. There are a lot of similarities where you can say they probably modelled that a little bit on so and so character stuff. That's fine. I didn't understand wages, so I'm going to have to go back and have a look and see what those were, because that happened to me at the end of a couple of fights where it would say wager and there'd be 4 buttons there, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? And
yeah, I did the tutorial and it explained it reasonably well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's really in depth as well. I mean, did you see that they've got those the frame breakdown in the menu, so you can see the hit advantage or the number of recovery frames, the block advantage and stuff, so you can genuinely measure up what moves would beat what and when. But you could ignore that and stuff. It's not really an issue, but the Mortal Kombat the Mortal Kombat equivalent of ultras and super moves, which this game has as well. What are they called? Are they just called specials?
Or like super moves or something.
Yeah. They're some of them last quite long. You're watching a clip of like 10 seconds, maybe, in that sort of area.
Yeah.
The Mortal Kombat ones could get away with it because it never really got tiresome, because they were so over the top brutal, as is that's Mortal Kombat. But the Street Fighter ones, they got tiresome after a while, and they were almost always less than 5 seconds long.
There's going to be a problem, I think.
Yeah, I was like watching. I mean, one really made me laugh. I can't remember who I was fighting, but someone grabbed me and basically flew through the centre of the earth. drag me all the way to the other side and then back in or something. But I was like, that's really amusing, but I don't know if I'm going to want to sit there for 10 seconds again every time that move.
It's the same when you kick someone through the side of the level into the next level. Sometimes that can take... It's really fun to watch and funny, but I'd imagine for the 50th time they might patch that stuff out a little bit.
Yeah. But aside from that, as I started to get to grips with what the buttons were and stuff, it's really simple, and in that great way. Is the multiplayer? Have you tried multiplayer yet?
I've played a bit online, yeah.
Does it have the same system where you have the little avatars watching what's going on?
Yeah.
Oh, it does. Awesome,
yeah.
Because that's one of the best lobby systems that I've ever seen. Cool. I'm hoping that some of my mates get it because I think we could get really stuck into this. Looks really, really damn good. Are you going to play it some more? I take it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I'll be keeping hold of it, like MK, because we got a fair old amount of time into that.
Yeah, no doubt. And this looks it could be on a par with it. I'm looking forward to playing some more. So I'll speak about it next week.
Yeah, a pleasant surprise.
True that.
And Booker DeWitt plays the Flash in the game. True story.
What's his name?
Troy Baker.
All right.
My boy.
Trivia. All right, well, thank you very much. That's us done. Thanks very much for listening. Episode 59. You know the deal. Thank you for... I've done that bit. Twitter, Facebook.
At John Denton, at Chet Roivas, at Chet and Johns. Chet and Johns on YouTube. Sort it out.
Chet and Johns, blah, blah. Yeah, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week for 60, boy.
Word to your moms. Laters.
Goodbye.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Error 37! Error 37! I keep trying to log in and I get error 37!
A steam sale will do that to a man.
Hello, welcome to episode 59 of Chet and John's reassuringly finite gaming playlist. My name's John Denton. With me as always, Chet Roivas.
What's going on?
So you know the deal, 2 top 10 lists, starting from 10 with being the game we played the least this week, 1 being the game we played the most. Enough fucking about, is Chet with number 10.
Okay, right, my number 10 is a game called Master of the 70s on the Xbox 360. This is a difficult one. I played it for a few minutes, and it's one of those games where you get that really nebulous feeling that it was made by really, really decent people. I was like, I like this game because the people who made it seem like really, really sound. It's something that's just been designed for very, very young children. You play as little pirate ships floating around in teacups, and there's biscuits that you have to avoid and stuff. It's got a really clean and crisp presentation. It's got really good music. The production values they're not high, but it's been very carefully made to appeal to children. It's got a really great theme tune that sounds like it comes from a kids' TV show or something. You've got cannons, important starboard. The only really weird thing about it is that as you're these... First of all, it's quite difficult to fuck up something as simple as walking along and beating the shit out of people. I'm somebody who likes... One of the worst examples of the genre, I think, is Warriors Street Brawl. Yeah. The old XBLA game. I came to love that, even though it was fucking dreadful. That pisses on this to such an extent that this is really... It's quite unbelievable. I mean, just some of the examples are... The frame rate's terrible. The number of frames per animation is... it's 3 frames maximum, and one of the dynamics in it is that you can execute a perfect guard. So you can, press block at the right time and you'll do a perfect guard and you get points for that. But it's impossible to do because the animations are so quick that you can never preempt them. It's juddering and ugly as fucking sin. There's no finesse. There's also this thing where it doesn't matter what where you're facing. Say, for example, you're in the middle of the screen, there's an enemy in front of you and you're facing left. If you press left and kick, sometimes it will just right and kick. Press up and kick. Sometimes it will just do absolutely not what you asked it to do. It kind of reminded me of like an old Spectrum knockoff of Street Fighter from like back in the day. It's so bad that I think I'd rather play that, to be honest, because it's shocking.
I don't understand how it could be so shit. Not that I don't think I've played Double Dragon 2, the old one. I don't think, like you. I'm not sure. Maybe I did. But I don't understand how they could fuck it up.
Yeah, me neither. But it is like something, pirate ships floating around this cup of tea. The controls are weirdly realistic, so you can't do sharp turns, and it just descends. I don't know why you'd have realistic controls in a kids' game about pirate ships and cups of tea, but you end up just doing really, really long-winded donuts round and round each other, hitting the relevant cannon button and stuff. There's simultaneous 4-player multiplayer, which, again, it's the kind of thing you'd put in front of maybe a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old, and they'd probably respond. It's very, very simple. It's nice, but I don't know. It's nice.
Yeah, I like it when a game is born out of a pun and they actually like the pun so much that they're prepared to make an entire video game about it.
Around it, yeah. It's nice. It's worth the trial if you think that. I can't imagine anybody enjoying it who's older than, say, 10 at the most. But it's hard to fault it. Actually, I did fault it. It's not hard to fault. It's just I wouldn't play this if you're above a certain age because it's incredibly simplistic and crazy. Why would you have pretty realistic boat controls when you're floating around in tea cups? Anyway, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Done.
That's the way the cookie crumbles. My number 10 is First Person Tetris, a game I saw on Twitter today, but I realised I'd actually played before. So like a web browser game. You have an image of a NES with an old school TV screen, like an old CRT. And Tetris is playing on the screen, and when you move, instead of the brick moving, the whole image moves. So you move 90 degrees, and it's just a worse Tetris. The novelty wears off after about 10 seconds of the fact you're looking at a photo of an old NES, and then you realise you're just playing a really difficult and unpleasant version of Tetris, so I turned it off. That's about it. If you want to play it, go to First Person Tetris on Google, or I think it's firstpersontetris.com.
Haven't you talked about this on the podcast before?
Yeah, I forgot. I definitely played it before.
Yeah, because I think you mentioned it and I played it and I wasn't particularly taken with it then. All right, okay. No reason to go back.
No.
Okay, my number 9 is Double Dragon 2 Wander of the Dragons on the Xbox 360. I think it's on PC. It's definitely on PSN as well. I can't remember if I played the original Double Dragon 2. I'm sure I did, because I played all of those sorts of games in arcades back then. But it's kind of... Some people are saying it's the best Double Dragon ever that there has ever been released. But then I started hearing stuff on Twitter about how fucking appalling this port was. Have you heard any of that?
Yes, I heard it was bad, yeah.
Yeah, I heard some really, really incredibly angry comments from people saying that they completely bastardised a classic. I can't vouch for whether the original was a classic, but this is hair-raisingly bad. It's unbelievably bad. You cannot believe that it got made in this day and age. First, from a bygone era that's like attempting to be something. It left me speechless, and you should just have a look at the trial. You'll know after 2 minutes. You'll understand after 2 minutes about what a colossal car accident it is. If you found out that it was designed by people who'd never worked on a game before, you wouldn't doubt it. It's shockingly bad.
Shit. I'll avoid.
Do that.
My number 9 ain't much better. It's Injustice: Gods Among Us on iPhone.
Oh,
sneaky. It's free to play, and what I assumed it would just be like a cut down version of the main game, but it's actually like a weird, almost QTE based fighting game that basically just kind of tap the screen a bit and some moves happen. There's no depth or skill to it whatsoever, and the free to play stuff works by your characters. Like this quite common trait in free to play now. You can have characters for a bit and then they power down. You need to spend an in-game currency to get them to power them back up, which you can either wait for or earn very slowly in game, or obviously pay for. That type of structure generally bores me. I understand it's a model, but we're from the olden days, so that sort of shit's bollocks to me. And the game just ain't. It looks nice. It looks really nice. Very impressive for a phone game, but there's no gameplay there really. But it didn't cost me anything, and I